Clearly, I'm not there with you this morning. But what's less obvious is that you're not here with me as I record this. Okay, that was a little too strange to try. I've been in the sanctuary preaching on and off all day to a video camera by myself and editing it and realizing it didn't say much of anything. There's something that happens when we come together. I feel it mostly when I do stand in the pulpit, talking to you, sharing my thoughts and feelings and beliefs, trying to make sense out of my life, our lives together, the world, and that's not your experience. It couldn't be. But from my vantage point, one that I get to share with Lara and with others, like today Tammy and Matthew, and some of you who have taken the opportunity to speak from that place, there is a spirit that I can watch begin to gather as we worship together. I can see how our individual lives, that individual flame, begins to build into a communal fire. That's who we become when we gather. And we don't extinguish our chalice at the end of any worship service, because that fire, the flame among us, doesn't go out. Now, first you have to come. And we've said that in many, many different ways. But it's more than just arriving in the place. Because we do have people in our congregation who can't come. They can't just walk in the doors on any given Sunday. It has to be about a willingness to be present. To know that you're a part of this spirit that is gathering, that is forming. That is a different type of coming than being there just sitting in a pew or having to stay at home. There is a connection that we begin to spread this spirit with. A connection that, yeah, we do it in our Sunday mornings, but we do it through music, and we do it through songs that Steve has written that are beloved to us. But we do it too in the work of our church. Yes, in committee meetings. Yes, when we have First Sunday lunches and we feed one another and clean up after one another and begin to care for one another. Spirit is a connection among us. And it begins by that willingness to be present, an intention to be present, even if you can't bodily, and then it grows through these connections that we make, through the lives that we share, and our joys and our concerns. And there's a commitment that we make. A commitment to struggle to make that spirit, that flame, that fire of our community a part of our lives. And it's a challenge. It's a struggle at times to live up to our ideals of inherent worth and dignity of every person, of a just and a democratic world, of being a part of the interconnected web of all existence. These are not easy things. These are real challenges for my life, and I would imagine for yours. Part of the sermon that I was preparing was talking about the Gospel of Matthew. In chapter 18, verse 20, Jesus is teaching his followers about their gathering. And I'm paraphrasing, but if one or two of you gather, then in my name, then I am present. But the larger quote, the larger teaching that he has isn't just about their evoking his name and bringing Jesus among them as a spirit, but it's about their ability to change the world. It's about their ability to come together, just one or two, and to begin to bind what in earth is bound then in heaven, to loosen upon the earth and then loosen in heaven. It's a teaching that may not have been Jesus' original teaching, but it was for a community that some people did know the real Jesus, the historical person. And they were a minority faith. They stood against great odds of people who believed quite differently and looked down on their beliefs. And so this particular teaching, while it may not have been the exact words of Jesus, carries the spirit of that community. The spirit of that community that when they evoke this man and his teachings, that they can move heaven and earth. It strikes me as a powerful message for us as a minority faith here in Riverside and in the Inland Empire. It strikes me as something we need to know about what that gathered spirit is about. It's not about transforming the world in small ways. It's about moving all heaven and all earth through the coming together of just a few faithful people. And that's the power. That's the power that comes through our gathering. Yes, we are better when we gather together. We're better because we're more than the sum of the parts. We can do more and be more than we can be alone. But that more isn't simply the work of this church. It isn't simply changing policies. It's about changing the world. It's about us understanding that our power and the spirit that we evoke together is great. Greater than perhaps we act as if it is. Several weeks ago at Trader Joe's, I ran into Sandy Briggs. Now, I had been wandering around lost because, once again, Trader Joe's had gone ahead and reorganized all their shelves. They actually moved the milk from one end of the case to the other, the bread from 5 aisles over. There seemed to be a rhyme or reason to it, and I was just beginning to understand it when I was surprised pleasantly to see Sandy. And we laughed about the reorganization. We talked briefly about how she was impressed that my son Elliot knew so much about pickling. And we had a brief hug and moved apart. But that was our coming together. That was just 2 of us. Two of us in a silly way, maybe, in a fun way, and yet I felt so grounded, so empowered, so ready to just do more after seeing Sandy. And yes, it is because she's so great and I enjoy her a lot. But it's also because we were present to our community in that time. As you sit there in service, think about your interactions with our community. When you have been away and when you have felt that spirit, the spirit not only of support, of love, of perhaps even challenging what you believe, yes, but that spirit which empowers you to act differently in the world, to be a different person. That is the spirit we gather. That is the very presence that we are for one another. While 40 of us are up at the Beneville Pines this weekend, and I'm away, you have come together. Know that that gathering you are a part of now is more than the people there. It is the spirit of us all. The spirit of a history of people for 130 years who have come together there, and a history much, much more of Unitarianism and Universalism and our whole background. It's a spirit that pushes us to live. May we be worthy, each of us, wherever we are today, of this great spirit. May we be present to it in our lives, and may it be so.